girl voice tonight. I want to say good evening and thank you for showing up for this civic engagement event. I think tonight it is important. We're all here, looking for a choice, which I think Illinois Congressional District 15 has lacked for a long time. We're gathered here tonight as neighbors, as Midwesterners, and as people who still believe that community matters. I might be biased, which is fine, but I believe that the Midwest produces some of the kindest and most selfless people. From showing up for one another after our unpredictable weather to that awkward little wave we give each other on the backcountry road. It's clear that we value one another, and it's time that we make that our priority again. And I think that's what this is tonight, taking care of the people in this state, in this district, and in this town. Lately, there's been a lot of talk of the world's first trillionaire. And while I think that number is really hard to imagine, what's easier to picture is the people in this district right now trying to stretch from paycheck to paycheck to put dinner on the table right before the holidays. It can feel discouraging at times, but I think it's worth remembering, regardless of your party or politics, that we have far more in common with one another than we ever will with the top 1%. That I can promise you, from being inundated by hospital bills, student loan debt, or living paycheck to paycheck. While the wealth inequality grows right before our eyes, we share these struggles. And tonight we begin the conversation about what true representation looks like. Honest, local, and focused on the people of Illinois 15th District. Now I'm going to welcome our candidates, and they are all going to give you 2 minutes of their thoughts, their policies, whatever they would like to share with you tonight. We are going to start with Mr. Paul Davis, and I will hand it over to him now.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Paul Davis. I'm a doctor of veterinary medicine and a bass fisherman. I'm not a politician. I'm running for Congress in Illinois' 15th district because I'm concerned that as a nation and as a district, we've lost our center. Our politics has become too extreme, too divisive, and too disconnected from those of us that it's supposed to serve. As a veterinarian, I'm a scientist, and I'm very concerned about the anti-science culture that exists these days. While I would encourage everyone to get your vaccines, if you don't want them, you don't have to get them, but I'd like those available for myself and my family. Political and medical research and scientific research is not political. There again, if you don't want your Alzheimer's medication or your cancer medication, you don't have to take it, but I would like those available for myself and my family. I am running for this seat because I feel like I am qualified to do the job. Veterinarians are problem solvers. We are confronted numerous times a day with patients that can't speak to us and owners that are frequently concerned and emotional, and we have to use our medical knowledge, our intuition, our empathy to try to come up with a solution that works for everybody. Broadly, I feel like, again, we have much more that unites us than divides us. Our politicians divide us. I will vow as your representative in Congress to represent you in the 15th District. Not a president, not special interest groups, just you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. And next up is going to be Mr. Kyle Nudo.
Hi there, folks. My name is Kyle Nudo, as she said, and I'm running to defeat Mary Miller. I think a lot of the folks here in this room all share that goal that she should be defeated, and hopefully I can earn your vote. A lot of people like to ask me, where I'm from. I started life in Joliet, but we moved, my mother and I, a single parent and an only child, moved to Southern Illinois, to Alton, and I spent the rest of my life there. My summers were spent on the farm in Pike County in a tiny little town called New Canton. If you know where that is, then you know where the one stop sign is. And it's a funny thing, the way that this district is shaped, it just whips around the state, 35 counties. And I've been to pretty much all of them, and the folks that I meet throughout the whole district are the people I've spent my whole life with. You know, there's all walks of life, but I know this district like the back of my hand. If you were to trace the steps of my life, you would see from Alton all the way over to Pike County through Decatur. That's where I got my bachelor's degree, over in at Milliken. You know, that shape, I always tell people the silly little dad joke of that, you know, it's an almost upside down horseshoe that all the luck is pouring out of. And, you know, that's what Mary Miller has given us. She's done exactly 0 for this district and this state. It's almost like it's purposeful, right? She's given us, I was just saying to this woman here just a second ago, that she's given us a perfect model of what not to do. In any case, you know, I work in the culture sector today. I'm a producer. I work in Broadway and Hollywood, as well as the West End over in London. That's where my most recent work has been. I too am a problem solver. I work in incredibly backbreaking environments where we have, in many cases, 12 different trades all working in one place. And well, I'll also add that I'm a union guy. I'm a member of 3 labor unions. A lot of our working folks, that matters to them, and still carry all my cards today. We'll talk more about that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Nudo. Next up is Mr. Randy Raley.
No, I think Mary Miller's up. It says here.
She actually was unable to fit it into her schedule. I did talk to her scheduler, and nobody seemed to know how to schedule an event for Miss Miller. So unfortunately, she's not here.
Thank you, Tabitha, for having us. My name is Randy Raley, and as we gather today, I keep thinking of the last 6 words of the Pledge of Allegiance, with liberty and justice for all, and I'm left wondering if that's really true anymore. I believe it's true if you're rich and powerful. I sit before you today as a proud DNA-infused lifelong Democrat because I know my party is on the right side of history, because we are the party that stands for justice. We have fought for equal rights for women, equal rights for minorities, equal rights for our LGBTQ community, and we fight for equal voting rights, truly justice for all. We're watching our district crumble, my friends. The inattention paid to it by the current representative is basically abandonment. Nikki Budzinski has brought almost $140 million to her district, while MIA Mary has brought no money. Without maintenance, things crumble, and that's what's happening to our district. No money for anyone, Democrat or Republican, nobody. This makes it a nonpartisan issue and taxation without representation. My campaign is built on these things that help address the core needs of our district. Economic investment in services like healthcare, education, and labor rights. We need access to capital and credit relief for family farms and Main Street businesses. Access to broadband should be available to every resident in the district, which will help create jobs and more education opportunities. We must protect the pillars of community life, our schools, our hospitals, our nursing homes, and those quality jobs that go with them. I also stand with my union brothers and sisters who built this district. I will vigorously defend the right to collective bargaining and will push for increased federal funding for union apprenticeship programs. I will make sure every dollar sent home from Washington will go to good union jobs. The fight for the farmer, the small business, the student, the worker, the guy who works at the gas station, and the person who bags your groceries is all the same fight. I believe in the power of local leadership that knows the difference between a political talking point or a meme and a struggling family. And finally, I ask you to let me be the voice of common sense, a relentless voice for the people who have built this district and make this district their home. I ask for your support, your trust, and your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Raley. Last but not least, Ms. Jennifer Todd.
Good afternoon. It's not evening yet. She said, my name is Jennifer Todd. I'm a second-generation nurse, a single mom, and a daughter of a veteran and a union member. The reason why I got into this is that she ran unopposed. And back in January, I decided to look into it. And I've been going strong ever since. I'm just like every one of us here in this audience tonight. I have been on SNAP benefits. I have been on Medicaid. I have been on unemployment. I know what it's like to wonder, how am I going to put new shoes on my daughter before school starts? Those are things that I have dealt with paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. I'm still working from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. But this is more important than that. With me being a nurse, the big ugly bill, when they came out, put me nearly in tears with all the benefits that is going to be taken away from nursing homes. Will end up closing because they rely 80 to 90% of their income that comes in through Medicaid payments. So those individuals that are going to be kicked out of the nursing home will end up having to go home, whomever their guardian is. Well, their guardian could possibly already have 2 to 3 jobs. They're going to have to quit those jobs, be able to take care of their loved one, and what's going to end up happening is people are going to die. And that's not who we are as a country or as a district. Also with Medicaid, people don't understand how much Medicaid and our education department go hand in hand. That you have to have the Medicaid services that help pay for everything that goes on for our Title I kids. And thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Just to give you guys a good understanding of how tonight's flow is going to go, I have pre-designated questions up here. Everyone will receive the same amount of questions in each category. We have 4 categories. That is expected to take about 55 minutes. Then we will have a small break for the candidates to use the restroom if they need and get out of the limelight. And then we will convene again and we will take questions directly from the audience, okay? We're going to do it nice and orderly, nice and kindly. We're going to be very respectful of the candidates, okay? And I'm not saying you can't give them a hard time, but they have not elected yet, okay? So let's not give them Mary Miller's animosity. So for the first category, we're going to dive into finance and earmarking. And if you have never heard the word earmarking, that's okay. I have a little bit of information for you. Just to let you know, I am a senior at UIS. I am studying politics, and I hope to move into their grad program also in politics as well. So I'm extremely interested in the inner workings of the political system. So throughout American history, one of the most debated responsibilities of Congress has been how federal money is raised, spent, and brought back home. From large infrastructure projects to small community grants, these funding decisions reflect both national priority and local needs. Earmarking, now formally called community project funding, is the process by which members of Congress direct a portion of federal budget towards specific local projects, such as roads, hospitals, or workforce programs. These funds come from the annual appropriations bill that Congress passes, meaning they are part of an overall federal budget rather than new or additional spending. Supporters say earmarks allow representatives to directly advocate for their district's priorities, while critics argue that they can lead to waste and favoritism. As we move into this first section, we will hear from the candidates about how they view fiscal responsibility, federal investment, and their duty to bring resources home to the people they serve. Ms. Jen Todd, since you went last, you will be first for questions. We'll just go back down this way. All right. How would you ensure that rural or underserved parts of the district benefit equally from federal spending and infrastructure programs?
First of all, you have to get out there and find out what's going on. That's the major thing. You need to be able to go out into the community to find out what is needed. And that's what's not happening right now. There could be communities that need a new water treatment plant, new sewer treatment plant, or just new infrastructure altogether. And no one's listening. And that's where I come in. I've been listening for the last 10 months now, and going forward and moving things forward that our communities need this. We have so many towns, villages, and townships that need things done that they can't afford to do on their own. And that's what that money, that tax money that we pay, that's what that's for. And that's what we have to bring back. It's just boggles my mind how you cannot help the people that you're supposed to be serving. And that's what we need to do. We need to get back to that. And infrastructure is one of the major things in this district that needs to be taken care of, along with other things as water towers and police stations and community centers for our kids. Those are things that need to be done.
Thank you, Jen. Mr. Randy Rayleigh, if elected, what criteria would you use to decide which local projects deserve federal earmark funding?
Well, one thing, I've been through 34 of the 35 counties, and I've got a pretty good idea of what's going on out there. I think I would probably put into priority the biggest need. I believe that we have a water tower that's getting ready to fall down. It is rusted out and it's about ready to go, and I would think that that would probably move up the priority list. But along with that are other major problems in the district. There has been no maintenance in the district for so long that the list is really, really long. And so one of the things that I would do is go back and make sure that I have the priorities in order, of which the importance of getting those federal dollars back. Now, the one thing about Mary Miller, and I've heard her say this, is that she thinks that federal funds should not be used for local projects. And I'm thinking that's our job. That's our job, is to take that money that's out there. It's out there, it's already been allocated, but for some reason it hasn't been distributed to the district. One of the things that I would do to start with, one of my main priorities, is make sure that every resident has access to broadband in this particular district. That will raise the education level, and it also will create new jobs. So I think that would probably go to the top of my priority list, and then it would be the local projects that we need, that all of us, I believe, are aware of. We've got failing water towers, we need a new sheriff's office in a county, we have an ambulance district that's getting ready to expand. And so again, broadband for every residence, I think, would be my first priority, and then I would go through and make a list of the local needs according to need.
Thank you, Mr. Rayleigh. Mr. Kyle Nudo, the student loan crisis continues to burden millions of Americans. What reform would you support to make higher education more affordable and prevent future debt crises?
Well, that's a great question. You know, I am someone who has used our federal student loan system, and I personally, and I know several people very close to me, including my girlfriend Tiffany. I can tell you that it is a broken system. I can tell you that schools charge the exorbitant amounts that they charge because we allow the exorbitancy through our loan system. I don't think we have done the work as a federal or even state or even local level to encourage costs to stay low and affordable for folks. You can thank Ronald Reagan for exploding that way back when. In California, it used to be that if you went to a state school, you got to go for free. And we, like many things in this country, 50 plus years of neglect and direct malfeasance from the Republican Party has made things more expensive for you and much more profitable for the banks. As far as student loan forgiveness, I think we didn't go far enough. For me, you know, our public school system ends at grade 12. It should include a bachelor's degree. It should include a master's degree. Or if you are someone in the trades and isn't interested in one of those graduate degrees, I think you should go to trade school on the government dime.
Thank you, Mr. Nudo.
Thank you.
Paul Davis, tax cuts are often framed as a way to stimulate the economy. In your view, which income groups or business types should benefit most from tax relief and why?
I think the working class should benefit from tax relief. That's where it's proven that as a Democrat, we know we put money in working class folks' pockets, they're gonna put it back into the economy. Billionaires certainly don't need more tax cuts. Corporations don't need more tax cuts. They put it in their coffers and save it. There's always the trickle-down economics theory. Trickle down doesn't trickle. So we need to be responsible to our working class, and they deserve the tax cuts, and I think that helps the economy for all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Raley, you've not gone first yet, so I think you're up next. You guys are each going to get 2 questions in this category. So because you haven't went first yet, I'm going to go to you next, if that's okay. All right. Keep you on your toes. What partnerships, public or private, would you promote to drive economic development and job creation here at home?
Well, I think one of the partnerships I would drive would be to make sure that we have in this district businesses that can expand their business in this district to include more workers. Different programs that I would hold dear would be increased SNAP benefits and a number of things that helps this area, because the thing about this area that people really don't realize, it is so rural, and the population here is older. Another thing that I would is expand Medicaid in this area and Medicare and make it more affordable, and that would also eliminate the gap when it comes to Medicare being taken out of your taxes. If we can get rid of that particular cap that we have, we can get more Medicaid and Medicare money in this district because we need it. Like I said, the age of this district is older, the income is lower than the national average, and so programs like that and programs like Medicare and Medicaid and SNAP benefits, I want to make sure that we not only keep them, but we enhance them and we expand them. Like I said, it's a very rural area here, and we've got to make sure that our people are taken care of. Again, I would also think about bringing broadband into this area because we need it so badly, and we want to make sure that all of the residences in this district are plugged in and have the latest reliable services.
Thank you, Mr. Rhea. All right, Kyle Nudo. How would you balance the need for fiscal responsibility with the desire to secure federal investments and earmarks for the district's priorities?
Can you ask that question again?
Absolutely. Let me slow down. How would you balance the need for fiscal responsibility with the desire to secure federal investments and earmarks for the district's priorities?
Well, I have to say, I don't see a distinction between the two things. Fiscal responsibility for this area requires federal investment. The neglect that we've seen in this state from our friends that wear the red hats, I feel like that's what's driving not only wages down and families out of business and families out of state, but it's also crumbling our infrastructure, and that's driving businesses out of state. What does that mean? Well, then ultimately it means there's no jobs. Now, I'm a working class guy, and I stand to represent the working class. If we're going to have a working class, if we're going to have a middle class, we have to be able to pay those people a living wage. We have ignored for the whole of my life the wage, the base wage floor being a living wage. A single income can no longer afford a family. I mean, I talk to folks when I go door to door, and you see 3, 4, and 5 working adults supporting that family. So in terms of fiscal responsibility, I say that ain't it. And if we're going to support our people, we're going to have to bring in a lot more money. The money that Mary Miller owes us should be brought in so that we can build our better schools and continue to bring in investment from other business partners and lead to better union wages.
Thank you, Mr. Lugo. Mr. Paul Davis, many argue that the federal tax code favors large corporations. What changes, if any, would you propose to create a more balanced system that supports small businesses and working families?
That goes a little bit back to the last question I answered. I think we need to tax billionaires, tax corporations appropriately, and by that, it means that they should bear the burden of the profits that they make. The working class should benefit from tax cuts. Those tax cuts, again, will stimulate our economy. That will get more money flowing out into small businesses. In our district, we need to do what we can to support our farmers too. These are small communities. They rely very much on farmers and what the farmers bring into town, because if the farmers are successful, the small businesses in town, the restaurants, the attorneys, whoever, those guys are going to stay. The hospitals are going to stay in these small communities. We're going to lose those, so this starts at the top. The billionaires and the corporations have to pay their fair share, and their fair share is a heck of a lot more than they're paying right now.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Our final question for the finance category will go to Ms. Jen Todd. Deficit reduction. What spending cuts or revenue increases would you support to reduce the federal deficit while protecting working families?
First, we need to actually look at the military budget. I'm 100% military, but we have to be able to cut things down. Doing unnecessary things, as in a U.S. Gerald Ford in the Caribbean Sea at this moment.
Or a $600 sleeping bag.
That is true. And you wonder who's actually putting these requisitions in to be able to get these things. That's one of the areas that you need to look at. Another area you need to look at is salaries of the legislators and the president. You know, it's way more than I'll ever make. But you have to realize, are they actually doing their job for that amount of money? So you have to look at that. Other things that you need a good old accountant to come in and look at things. I keep remembering the movie Dave, when he brought in his friend, the accountant, to come in to look at the books. You know, sometimes you just need that straight accountant to come in and see what's going on. Because there's so many areas that can have cuts that are the cuts that do need to be done can be moved to a different program. As in, you know, the 40 billion sent to Argentina that could be with the SNAP benefits. So these are things that we have to work on and get solved.
Thank you. Our next category is going to be congressional stock trading, general oversight, and representation. Uh-oh.
The answer is no.
Mr. Nudo, I'm going to start with you for this one.
Sure.
Many voters feel disconnected from Washington. What concrete steps would you take to stay accessible and accountable to your district between elections?
Well, accessible and accountable is show up every day, right? I think that we've seen an example again from Mary that showing up is very important to the local folks. You know, I love talking with individual people. I've never met a stranger, you know, and I know I can certainly promise that I'll be here in person talking to each of you at every opportunity. If you want to come to the office, if you want to come to a town hall, if you want to come and talk to a meet and greet, a listening session, whatever you want to call these things, these are important. I have no better way to find out what is wrong in your neighborhood than you. Yeah, I don't need to hire a detective. You need to tell me that the water tower is rusting, or that the tornado siren isn't working, or that the light at whatever you name it street isn't working any longer. Those things, your county folks, the union folks that are nearby, partnerships like that, those are the people that are very important to be listening to all the time. And in terms of accountability, the dollars are going to come and they're going to fix those problems quickly, right? If you have a leaky roof, you don't need it solved in 3 months because of the continuous damage that it causes. We need to remember those sorts of concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Needle. Paul Davis, your question is, what reforms would you support to limit the influence of lobbyists and PACs on policy decisions?
I think number one, we need to get rid of Citizens United. We need politicians to wear sponsored jerseys so we know who's bought and paid for them. And I will commit to you today that as your congressman, I will not accept money from foreign-based PACs. Doesn't mean I'm against being a major player in the world, but it means I am your representative here in the 15th district, and I'm a United States congressman. I don't work for Israel, Russia, Palestine, anybody. I work for you. So I will commit to stay focused on the job at home while we work on the rest of the world, but nobody's going to be able to pay for my opinion or buy my loyalty. They're going to have to earn it.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I see you looking at me, Randy. You think you're next? Actually, I'm going to go to Ms. Jen Todd. You're going to close us out on this topic. Just trying to play fair. Ms. Jen Todd, what committees would you hope to serve on, and how would those assignments help this district?
We've actually been talking about that the last week. Of course, agriculture. That's one of the main things that the 15th is about, is agriculture, which also deals with SNAP benefits. So that we have to go through that. The others, that there's so many that deals with healthcare that I didn't even realize they were part of in some of these subgroups. That oversight has healthcare issues in it. That oh, now I just drew a blank. Appropriations has healthcare issues. So these are things that what I'm good at, what I can bring to the table, is making sure that Medicare actually has rules that make sense, that don't deny things for just one little thing. Same thing with Medicaid. All the rules there have to be revamped. And whoever has, they want to have this one service done. Well, we have to be able to get it done. And Medicare has to pay for it. And those are things that I want to work on, in the committees that I want to work on to do that. I also want to work on with Veterans Affairs. I know the issues of having to get someone into the VA. Right before my mom passed away, that I had to get my dad into the VA because he wasn't quite eligible for Medicare yet. And then all the different little hoops we had to jump through to be able to get him to get VA services. That needs to be more streamlined. And you have a discharge, you should be able to get VA benefits.
Closing out this topic, Mr. Randy Raley, do you support a ban on members of Congress and their immediate family trading individual stocks? Why or why not?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is so much inside information going around Washington that it's unbelievable, and we've all heard the stories of congressmen sitting on different boards and sitting on different committees that they get inside information. The next thing you know, they trade stocks, and then the next thing you know, voila, they're a millionaire. This has got to stop. I will go along with Paul and say that inside stock trading and Citizens United are probably the most unethical things that happen in this country, and it seems like nobody is willing to stop it. So I believe that using inside information to pad your account is probably one of the most un-American, unpatriotic things that I've ever heard. And one of the very first things I do if I'm your congressman is that we will draft legislation, because we will own it, we will own the House, that puts all of this to a stop. So unequivocally, no, there should be no stock trading anywhere in Washington while people are actively employed by the government.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Category number 3 is going to be Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, and food security. I did prepare a little speech just to give you guys a background on how SNAP benefits work in case anyone is unfamiliar. Across Illinois, nearly 1 in 6 residents, about 1.9 million people, rely on the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, or SNAP, to help put food on the table. Beyond providing vital support for families, SNAP also sustains local economies and farmers. Every dollar spent through SNAP generates up to $1.80 in broader economic activity, strengthening grocery stores, farmers markets, and rural communities alike. Programs such as Link Match here in Illinois allow SNAP dollars to be doubled at the farmers market, which directly benefits both families and local producers. These connections remind us that food security and farm security are deeply intertwined. For those interested, there is a handout with Illinois SNAP data and sources that are available on the back table, and because I value working in facts, I have included a second sheet with all of my sources. As we move into this next section, we'll hear from the candidates on how they plan to protect and strengthen SNAP, ensure access to nutrition, and support the farmers who help to feed our state. No applause, guys. I'm not running.
Yeah.
No, this has highlighted for me that I do not want to work within politics. I want to be a sideline player, but I do not want to work within politics. We have plenty of great candidates here. All right, for our first question, we are going to start with Mr. Paul Davis. Would you support expanding Medicare coverage for dental, vision, and hearing care? Why or why not?
The short answer is yes. And I would go further than that. I would support Medicare for all. Healthcare is one of our bigger costs. Jen was talking earlier about military spending or defense spending, or these days war spending. We spend $5 trillion a year on medical care in this country. We spend $1 trillion on defense. So where can we trim that? We spend twice as much as any other developed nation on this planet on health care. All of us can agree, half of that, if we spent $2.5 trillion on health care, boy, we'd save some money. We could do a lot, expand a lot of programs.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Randy Raley, SNAP benefits are vital for many families in this district. What changes do you believe should be made to improve or strengthen the program?
Well, number one, I think it boils down to money. That's what I think it boils down to. We have to have more funds to take care of the SNAP recipients. One of the things that I don't think people really realize is that most of the SNAP benefits, the people who get SNAP benefits, are already working. In Arkansas, they found out that the largest employer of SNAP recipients is Walmart. Let's get people to pay a living wage. Number one, that would start the whole thing, and that would keep people off SNAP benefits. But let's make sure that, let's go to the waste and fraud and abuse a little bit. Let's make sure that everybody who deserves SNAP benefits gets it. Let's make sure that the people who don't deserve it don't get it. I would also push the programs, and I think it's the double bucks programs where SNAP representatives or SNAP recipients can go to their local farmers market and they get double what their card says, and that stimulates local business, that stimulates the farmers, that helps them out, it helps the SNAP recipients out. So that would be one of the things that I would do, is I would expand that program. Another thing that we have, that we used to have in Illinois, were programs that allowed farmers for a good rate to be able to distribute their wares to high school schools and to food banks and all of that kind of stuff. I would like to see those programs reinstated and made available to SNAP recipients. Here's the thing that we have to realize: a lot of the time the SNAP benefits are the last resort of these families, and it must be treated, I believe, in a much more honorable way.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Kyle Nuda, many healthcare providers in rural areas struggle to stay open due to low reimbursement rates. What reforms would you advocate to ensure access to care in all parts of the district?
Well, the reimbursement rates really are kind of a problem across the country. There's a lot of doctors, I mean, everyone in this room has probably been a victim of this situation where one of your physicians may not want to take your insurance, whether it's a for-profit or a non-profit or from the federal government. I think that there needs to be a lot better administration of these things. I think that a lot of that can be easily standardized, and the federal government could lead on that very easily. No one should be denied just because their doctor doesn't want to take that form of insurance. Just because that insurance company pays a little too slowly, or just because that insurance company uses a digital platform instead of a hard copy paper, or vice versa. You see a lot of these sorts of things happening in doctors' offices, and that's easily managed. You know, I have lived abroad for a period of time, and I mentioned earlier that I work on the West End. You know, so I have used the National Health Service in England. Everything is standardized. The forms are simple. Everything, a lot of things are done just by text. You can access your own records, all of them, no matter who your doctor was, is, or could be, from your phone. Why, in the most advanced country in the world, we can't lead, much less, learn from examples of other countries? It's foolish.
Yeah. Ms. Jen Todd, rural food deserts remain a major issue. What federal actions would you support to increase food access and affordability?
Governor Pritzker has just done this, working on putting in state grocery stores. They just started to build one in Venice, in Madison. They have to be able to have access. And to be able to do that, you have to be able to have a store. And if you don't have a store, you don't have access. So we need to be able to bring more, we need to bring back the mom and pop stores. The little grocery stores that were the center of the communities. We need to bring those back to be able to feed everyone, have the local farmers market, even the local farmers sell their stuff at the grocery store. But we need to be able to have that access, and bringing back small mom and pops will help tremendously to be able to do that.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. I think if it's okay with the audience, I'm going to move to category number 4. This might leave us a little bit more time for audience questions, if there is a lot of people here who have questions. Show of hands if you were thinking of asking a question. Show of hands if you're thinking of asking a question. Okay, come on. All right, we're going to move into farming and small business development. Who went first last time? Does anybody remember? Paul. Thank you, guys. I know you're late. All right, we're going to start with Mr. Randy Raley. Agriculture is the backbone of the Midwest economy. What policies would you support to ensure family farms remain competitive against large corporate operations?
Well, one thing you have to realize is that we basically have 4 companies running when it comes to livestock from beginning to end. We have basically 4 companies that own all of the slaughterhouses and all of the packing plants and all of that kind of stuff. So one of the things that I would do is I would break that up. Teddy Roosevelt was one of my all-time heroes, and he basically went into Washington and started breaking up the monopolies. And I think we've got to start doing the same thing, because we have these 4 basic companies that control everything. One of the things that I would do is I would filter more federal dollars down to the local slaughterhouses and the regional places that stimulate local jobs and stimulate the local economy. Again, when we're dealing with these monopolies like this, whatever they say goes, and a lot of these guys are in violation of federal law anyway when it comes to employing immigrants. So I think if we can focus on more regional and more local outlets to take care of the farmers and things like that, I think we're going to be in a much better way. Again, when you talk about who owns what, I think in the last 20 years, this country has got on this mega merger kick that is killing rural America.
Yes.
Because the wages, the working conditions and all of that are controlled by people who have nothing to do with this district and who don't care a darn about anybody who works for them. So if we can start breaking up those companies and start focusing more on regional and local packing plants, I think we'll be much better off.
Mr. Nudo. Access to capital remains a major barrier for rural entrepreneurs. What steps would you take to expand small business lending and reduce red tape for startups in the district?
Well, I think that, as you say, access to capital usually depends on a variety of factors. You know, I don't know, raise your hands, folks. Has anybody ever asked for a loan? Does anybody own a house? All of those things, right? Student loan. Yeah, who qualifies for the loan has been a real problem for people across the country, especially here locally. Does anybody remember that we used to have a federal law called Glass-Steagall?
Yes.
Yeah, we need to reinstate that. For those of you that don't remember that, it broke up the banks and it separated the 2 types of banks, corporate banks from local, you know, banks that would give you a typical loan, you know, a personal loan, those sorts of things. I think we should easily incentivize for the average Joe, right? We focus on the multinational instead of the rural. One of my favorites, FDR. And you know, I tell folks that I'm an old-fashioned Democrat in the vein of FDR. One of the things that he did best was he flipped the script. Instead of urban being number 1 and federal money going there, he sent it to rural areas. And through the WPA and the CCC and a lot of other things like that, he made our country rich in those ways. And that's a very small thing to start with, is making loans accessible.
Thank you, Mr. Nudo. Mr. Paul Davis. Many small farms and local businesses struggle with labor shortages. What reforms, if any, would you support to address workforce challenges in agriculture and rural industries?
Number 1, we need to support the infrastructure. We need to support local schools, hospitals. So we need to have the infrastructure to support those folks when we bring them in. How you do that, certainly from an incentive standpoint, you can provide low interest loans, loan forgiveness for doctors, nurses to come in and work in these underserved areas. Number two, I think long-term, we need to come up with an immigration policy that works. And I am for secure borders. I would suspect nobody in this room wants insecurity. But we need to do it humanely, we need to do it fairly, and we need to realize that even though these folks are undocumented, they are paying taxes. They're supporting the revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Ms. Jen Todd, local food systems and farmers markets strengthen communities and economies. What policies would you support to boost local production, processing, and farm-to-table initiatives?
We have to be able to start having more small farms to be able to produce the little vegetables that no one produces. Be able to expand the things that we eat besides the corn and the soybeans. We need to be, give kids a chance to eat something different. And to be able to do that, you have to have small farms. Small hobby farms, several acres farms, to be able to do that. And to be able to do that, they have to have the money and the capital to do it. And we need to expand the Small Business Bureau to increase their ability to get the loans out and to help those who want the loans to be able to manage and to be able to actually make a profit to continue to do what they need to do. So we have to be able to have the Better Business Bureau staffed better and more of them to be able to get out and give the services to everyone who wants to be able to start their own business.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. Time is allowing. We're going to go with one more question for each of you in the farming and small business category, and then we will break, so you guys to have a break. All right, we're going to come back down here to Mr. Paul Davis and just work our way back. Rural broadband and infrastructure gaps still limit farmers and small businesses. What federal investments would you champion to close those gaps?
The first thing I would do is to do my job as your congressman and bring back federal funds to this district. It all comes back to money, as Randy said. If we can do that, we can certainly prioritize underserved areas, bring that broadband back, and falling back to the healthcare end of things, that broadband helps us serve rural communities with telehealth as well. So, first thing, again, like I said, do my job, bring money back to home.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Carl Duno, the next generation of farmers is shrinking. How would you help young and beginning farmers across access land, credit, and trading opportunities?
Well, that's a fantastic question. I grew up summers on the farm, and so, I know how hard it is for young folks to stay interested in the family farm. I think as several of us have said, and as I said before, it falls to income, right? If you don't have enough money to pay for your entire life, then are you free? Do we have the liberty that we are singing about on the 4th of July? I don't think so. I don't think of it that way anyway. So for young farmers, there has to be, an income imperative for them. A lot of the guys that I knew that grew up on the farm that went away, it's because they could get paid a better job somewhere else. And we have seen over the course of my lifetime, some 50-some years, that corporate farming and multinationals have gobbled up those family farms. Used to be when a farm was going under and they were going to auction off that land, all the farmers would gather around and no one would bid. Remember that? That's not just a story. That happened. And it doesn't happen anymore. And when the farms are going under today, guess what? They're not gonna be farms tomorrow, they're gonna be data centers.
Right.
And they're gonna eat up our electricity and taint our water. So the bigger question is for a farm, well, if you're going to get a loan on a farm, well, we wanna make sure that it's accessible, thanks to my other question for that. But, I think we also have to make sure that farming can bring an income. You don't have to have, 1,000 acres to make a living.
Thank you, Mr. Nudo. Mr. Randy Raley, farmers continue to face unpredictable weather and market instability. How would you strengthen crop insurance, disaster relief, or risk management programs to protect them?
Well, I think the underlying theme here is show us the money, okay? I think that we have to have earmarked funds that go to that. We have to have some kind of a rainy day fund that will go to these farmers who suffer tornadoes, and it seems like we're getting 500-year storms every 5 years now. So we've got to make sure that the farmers are using their farms in an environmental way. And I believe, like we've all said here, that the funds are available to help in this. Number one, we've got to start working against climate change, and I'm afraid that I hope it's not too late, but we've got to start working against climate change. And when it happens to farmers, there should be some kind of a rainy day fund set aside, low interest loans or no interest loans that help the farmers get back on their feet and can continue the work of feeding the nation. So again, it all boils down to money when it comes to taking care of farmers, but then again, we can walk with the farmers and make sure that they're environmentally friendly and they're doing things that don't harm the environment, and make sure, like I said, we have a rainy day fund to take care of these guys, because again, I think that this is the most important component of our district, is taking care of the farmers.
Thank you, Mr. Raley. Ms. Jim Todd, crop insurance reform. Do you support expanding crop insurance options for specialty crops and small producers? Let me ask that question again, just to make sure we got it all out. Crop insurance reform. Do you support expanding crop insurance options for specialty crops and small producers?
Yes, but first and foremost, we need a new farm bill. That's one thing we haven't had, and we need a new farm bill that can address all these issues that the crop insurance, which I'm still learning about. We don't have that farm bill, we don't have anything. We can't do anything at all to protect our farmers. And we need to be able to protect our farmers. They feed America. They actually used to feed the world, and they need to get back to feeding the world like they did. We need to open up USAID again. And we need to make sure the farmers has the insurance in case there's a flood, which we keep having all the time, and tornadoes keep coming up more and more every year. We need to be able to protect their livelihood, to be able to help protect and help give to the rest of the world. And that's what we were built on, and that's what we need to get back to.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. This is going to conclude our moderator questions. You guys are free to have a 5-minute break. And I just wanted to give you guys a quick tad bit of information. The farm bill that Jim is talking about is a massive piece of legislation. Congress passes it roughly every 5 years. It governs agriculture, food, and rural policy in the U.S., covering everything from farm subsidies, crop insurance, conservation, nutritional programs like SNAP. That was actually just something I wasn't really aware of, so I just wanted to give you guys that as well. So 5-minute break for the candidates, and we'll get back here for audience questions.
I don't, I may if she wants to keep YouTubing it. I'm sorry, I didn't. She was looking at me, she kept pointing at your shoulder. Oh, and I was like, what is she keep pointing at? And then I saw it.
I was like,
It gave him the flick.
I was afraid it was, I thought it was him running to crawl this way and stuff, and so I was like, I thought he could get it before me, and then it started crawling. Thank you so much. It took me quite some time. Because it tried to go close.
Yeah, she is.
You got choices, right? I bet you trust yourself just fine.
I think that should go back to like
Oh gosh.
like double the snap thing. That's a good idea.
A number of battles.
I've never heard that one. Yeah, so I think that's a good idea. Like if you want to spend SNAP benefits, it's double money when you go to the farm. You're buying, produce, the healthy stuff. Oh, well, and like crop insurance, I can give that crop insurance to corporate farmers. Give them family farms. That's a waste of money.
I think
Farm Joe and ABM will take care of this.
I think he was working a little bit. Yeah. I was like, I know where he was. Focusing on Mary Miller's beautiful face here. That works. Oh. This one is YouTube is gonna run out, but let's see about the other. The other one I think is doing okay.
If we hook it into the YouTube,
I know I might.
I'm not sure.
We don't have, oh, there it is.
Yeah, I don't know which one it needs.
I think it's good. Yeah, well, I'm saying
Then
you
I'll let
are.
you get this too.
Don't hit
Okay,
anybody or
perfect.
anything.
You guys are doing really well.
Today.
Thank you.